So, I've been reading on stream The Gifts of Imperfection, which is right there by Brene Brown. And then yesterday, I got another Brene Brown text called Daring Greatly. Daring Greatly. How the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. So, I definitely don't remember where I stopped, like which guideposts we last read. I think I'm just gonna go to, well, here's this number 3. Number 5, trusting faith. I feel like maybe, look who's here. Hey, Glint. What's up, man? Long time no speak. I think I'm just gonna start at number 4, which is cultivating gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. I feel like I don't even remember reading this. I was talking to, I'm new here. Are you though? I was talking to my best friend yesterday about, hi Fergie baby, about, this is my journal that I write all the things in. It's got lots of stickers because I don't know where else to put my stickers. Plant Daddy, where is it? Plant Daddy. Hi, I'm new here. Oh Lord. When we were at Barnes and Noble yesterday, they had this journal that was specifically for books that you've read, but every page was a summary of the whole book. I'm like, I can't read no book in one sitting. That's not a thing. So she said, well, I mean, you could always just use each page for, you know, each chapter or whatever. And I said, that's a good idea. However, you know what's cooler than being cool? Ice cold, or I forgot how it goes. I probably should use what I already have. Hi, newbie. I'm Fergie. Fergie, a OG. She been here a minute. So I think I'm going to take notes after I read this guidepost so that I can have something to reflect on because, ew, I realize that reflection is good. Also, I think that I'm going to, oh crap. I think I'm going to, my name's Clint or Clinty. You know the rest. What's the rest? I'm so concerned. I think I'm going to remake this shirt. Back in the days when I was actually trying to be a brand, I made this shirt. It's a healing heart, right? Heart with a band-aid on it. And then we have our little light rays for Don't You the Light. But I think I'm going to remake it. And maybe I'll do that today too. I don't know. Anyways, guidepost number 4 is, can y'all hear the music at all? Is it too low? It's supposed to just be like in the back. Eric Glintavius, Glintamus, Glincasso, Glint B. You trolling? A few more. Goodness gracious, that's a lot of glints. You wore your shirt yesterday? Oh, I have my heal people shirt still. I'll be wearing it. I've been wearing it some time. My little logo is like really small on that one though. Okay, so yeah, maybe we'll do that today. Because all I have in my shop is like a Don't You the Light shirt, but it's just the words. I'm not trolling. Who calls you Glint B? I gotta show you the video. I had a whole bee friend yesterday. Yesterday we went to the beach and we were walking down the street. Miss Tiffany Chanel. I don't know that lady. We were walking down the street and a bee landed on my it's kind of like a sports bra. It was bright pink. Bee landed right here. And she had a leaf stuck to her leg and I helped her. That bee was with me for like 5 minutes. Because I talk in movies and songs like Bumblebee from Transformers. Oh. I don't know that lady. I see. I have not experienced that version of Glint. I haven't experienced very many versions of Glint. Okay, so cultivating gratitude and joy. Need a bigger desk. Hi, King. Hope you're well. Can't say talk because I'm for a drink with my dad. Yay! I love that you and your dad are still hanging out and going out for drinks. Thank you for stopping by. Feel free to lurk or just pop in later. I'll probably be here for a while today, but thank you for popping in. All right, so let me feed this dragon before it crashes out. You can have healthy stuff. I feel like that was absurdly loud. It was. Okay. Y'all got your coffee, tea, etc. I got my sticker reminder that I'm the best teacher ever. Okay. Cultivating gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. Earlier, I mentioned how surprised I was to see certain concepts from my research emerge in
a show of hands.
Empty.
Is a term some people use loosely. I'm real choosy
So
what
loud.
I choose to let cruisy. Jealousy the number one killer among black folk. Fellas be under some type of spell like crack smoke. Jealousy Cinderella's lead right to your stack loaf. Just another way a chicken lead to your end. I check the dictionary for the meaning of
friends. It says, for someone likes to socialize with, sympathize, I help her.
That's about the size of it.
Hi, Imphy. My sweet, merciful Neptune. That was so loud. Was that loud for y'all or just for me? I don't even know. Let me see. I love that song so much. I just love MF Doom. Let me see if I can adjust that real quick. No. Yes, I want to log in with Twitch. I love how you feeling, Imphy? I love how let me not say it out loud because I might jinx it. Let's just do like 50. Can I save it? Do I save? Okay, that's good. Where'd it go? Amphi, we are doing really well. How are you? I don't know if all these are on there. Okay. We should be good. Let me try a short one and see. How are you feeling, Impy?
Hi, how are you?
Okay, that was reasonable. Sweet. All right. Earlier, I mentioned how surprised I was to see certain concepts from my research emerge in pairs or groups. These collections of concepts have created major paradigm shifts for me in terms of the way that I think about my life and the choices I make every day. A good example of this is the way that love and belonging go together. Now I understand that in order to feel a true sense of belonging, I need to bring the real me to the table, and that I can only do that if I'm practicing self-love. For years, I thought it was the other way around. I'll do whatever it takes to fit in, I'll feel accepted, and that will make me like myself better. Just typing those words and thinking about how many years I spent living that way makes me weary. No wonder I was tired for so long. Side note in relation to that, I saw a video on YouTube of this black woman who grew up, she was born and raised in Japan, and she came to America and people expected her to behave in like a very stereotypical black way as far as like clapping and snapping and all of the extra gestures and things like that. And she says, I can act like that if I want to, but I find it very tiring because that's just not the way that I behave. And so I relate that to what Brene just shared as far as I'll do whatever it takes to fit in, I'll feel accepted, and that will make me like myself better. So it makes me think of, just doing whatever we need to do to mask so that people accept us, so there's less friction, because typically we have to endure the friction so that we can connect with people that we're actually supposed to connect with. But it's like you got to go through the thorns to get to the garden, to get to the roses. In many ways, this research has not only taught me new ways to think about how I want to live and love, it's taught me about the relationship between my experiences and my choices. One of the most profound changes in my life happened when I got my head around the relationship between gratitude and joy. I always thought that joyful people were grateful. I mean, why wouldn't they be? They have all that goodness to be grateful for. But after spending countless hours collecting stories about joy and gratitude, 3 powerful patterns emerged. Without exception, every person I interviewed who described living a joyful life or who described themselves as joyful actively practiced gratitude and attributed their joyfulness to their gratitude practice. Both joy and gratitude were described as spiritual practices that were bound to a belief in human interconnectedness and a power greater than us. People were quick to point out the difference between happiness and joy as the difference between a human emotion that's connected to circumstances and a spiritual way of engaging with the world that's connected to practicing gratitude. Welcome in, EK Mute. Thank you for the follow. Bestie! Just popping in to say, hey, I'm at breakfast. I love you. Bye. Bye, Bree. Thank you so much for popping in. That's my bestie, y'all. She came to California yesterday. When it comes to gratitude, the word that jumped out at me throughout this research process is practice. I don't necessarily think another researcher would have been so taken aback, but as someone who thought that knowledge was more important than practice, I found these words to be a call to action. In fact, it's safe to say that reluctantly recognizing the importance of practice sparked my 2007 breakdown, and she scratches it out, spiritual awakening. For years, I subscribed to the notion of an, quote, attitude of gratitude, end quote. I've since learned that an attitude is an orientation or a way of thinking, and that having an attitude doesn't always translate to a behavior. For example, it would be reasonable to say that I have a yoga attitude. The ideals and beliefs that guide my life are very in line with the ideas and beliefs that I associate with yoga. I value mindfulness, breathing, and the body-mind-spirit connection. I even have yoga outfits. But let me assure you, my yoga attitude and outfits don't mean jack if you put me on a yoga mat and ask me to stand on my head or strike a pose. Why don't they mean jack? I don't practice yoga. I don't put my attitude into action enough to call it a practice. So, where it really matters, on the mat, my yoga attitude doesn't count for much. So what does a gratitude practice look like? The folks I interviewed talked about keeping gratitude journals, doing daily gratitude meditations or prayers, creating gratitude art, and even stopping during their stressful busy days to actually say these words out loud. I am grateful for blank. When the wholehearted talk about gratitude, there are a whole bunch of verbs involved. It seems that gratitude without practice may be a little like faith without works. It's not alive. Let me write this down. Just okay, Infi, just okay. Uh-oh, I'm pressing buttons on my computer. I should not be pressing buttons on my computer. Okay. All right, so I wrote down, happiness can best be attributed or connected to a gratitude practice. I love that. Having an attitude of gratitude involves action, intention, and verbs. Who took my money? Oh, I was supposed to pay that. Okay. Yes, and making an active choice. I think I need to, I just need to change this. which I think is huge, because it's one thing to say that you're grateful, but how do you show? Glenn, look, you ain't seen my bestie, but I hate to tell you, there's no competition. We got 5 years under our belt, almost 6, and the love is real, the love is deep, but maybe you'll build up. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, I like that distinction of having a practice, and I also like using the word you don't compete. That's great, because there's only one you, so how could you compete? Hearing something be a practice, I feel, leaves a lot more room for things to not be perfect, right? You don't practice. Ooh, if she's gray, she's gonna. She looks like Zara. And actually, it would be really cute to get her like a lavender collar. I wonder what she's gonna look like when she gets older. Thank you, Fergie. She's adorable. Like going to, basketball practice, baseball practice, piano practice. Those are the times and spaces where you can give yourself grace to make mistakes. But that repetition is what really, really helps. So I think calling it a gratitude practice makes it feel more accessible, a little less serious, a little less daunting, but the most important aspect of it is just to do it consistently, whatever that looks like, whether it be every day, whether it be every other day. Oh, okay, love, I'll be here. Whether it be every day, every other day, every week, every 2 weeks, whatever that looks like, but some sort of period of time that is accessible to you and that can be done consistently. So what is joy? A quote by Adela Rogers St. John says, "Joy seems to me a step beyond happiness. Happiness is a sort of atmosphere you can live in sometimes when you're lucky. Joy is a light that fills you with hope and faith and love. The research has taught me that happiness and joy are different experiences. In the interviews, people would often say something like, being grateful and joyful doesn't mean that I'm happy all of the time. On many occasions, I would delve deeper into those types of statements by asking, what does it look like when you're joyful and grateful but not happy? The answers were all similar. Happiness is tied to circumstances, and joyfulness is tied to spirit and gratitude. I also learned that neither joy nor happiness is constant. No one feels happy or joyful all of the time. Both experiences come and go. Happiness is attached to external situations and events that seem to ebb and flow as those circumstances come and go. Joy seems to be constantly tethered to our hearts by spirit and gratitude. But our actual experience of joy, these intense feelings of deep spiritual connection and pleasure, sees us in a very vulnerable way. After these differences emerged from my data, I looked around to find what other researchers had written about joy and happiness. Interestingly, the explanation that seemed to best describe my findings was from a theologian. Ann Robertson, a Methodist pastor, writer, and executive director of the Massachusetts Bible Society, explains how the Greek origins of the words happiness and joy hold important meanings for us today. She explains that the Greek word for happiness is makarios, which was used to describe the freedom of the rich from normal cares and worries, or to describe a person who received some sort of good fortune, such as money or health. Robertson compares this to the Greek word for joy, which is kairo or chiro. Kairo was described by the ancient Greeks as the culmination of being, as the good mood of the soul. Robertson writes, Kairo is something the ancient Greeks tell us that is found only in God and comes with virtue and wisdom. It isn't a beginner's virtue. It comes as the culmination. They say its opposite is not sadness, but fear. So Gwen says we don't just start things and be great. Practice makes us subject matter experts. Absolutely. And it could be subject matter experts or it could be, practical hands-on experts. But you know, they say, what is it that you're supposed to put in like 10,000 hours in order to be a master of something? So, yeah, you have to practice in order to get those 10,000 hours in. We need both happiness and joy. I think it's important to create and recognize the experiences that make us happy. In fact, I'm a big fan of Gretchen Robbins' book, quote, The Happiness Project. I read that book. And Tal Ben-Shahar's research and book, Happier. But in addition to creating happiness in our lives, I've learned that we need to cultivate the spiritual practices that lead to joyfulness, especially gratitude. In my own life, I'd like to experience more happiness, but I want to live from a place of gratitude and joy. To do this, I think we have to take a hard look at things that get in the way of gratitude and joy, and to some degree, even happiness. Scarcity and fear of the dark. Okay, so when it comes to joy, let's see. So happiness. Happiness. Comes from outside circumstances that ebb and flow, while joy and gratitude are internal and tethered to our hearts and spirits. The Greek word for joy is kairo. She is described as culmination and the good mood of the soul. All right. Scarcity and fear of the dark. The very first time I tried to write about what gets in the way of gratitude and joy, I was sitting on the couch in my living room with my laptop next to me and my research memo journal in my hands. I was tired, and rather than writing, I spent an hour staring at the twinkle lights hanging over the entryway in my dining room. I'm a huge fan of those little clear sparkly lights. I think they make the world look prettier, so I keep them in my house year-round. As I sat there flipping through the stories and gazing at the twinkle lights, I took out a pen and wrote this down. Twinkle lights are the perfect metaphor for joy. Joy is not a constant. It comes to us in moments, often ordinary moments. Sometimes we miss out on bursts of joy because we're too busy chasing down extraordinary moments. Other times we're so afraid of the dark that we don't dare let ourselves enjoy the light. A joyful life is not a floodlight of joy. That would eventually become unbearable. I believe a joyful life is made up of joyful moments, gracefully strung together by trust, gratitude, inspiration, and faith. Joy and gratitude can be very vulnerable and intense experiences. We are an anxious people, and many of us have little tolerance for vulnerability. Our anxiety and fear can manifest as scarcity. We think to ourselves, I'm not going to allow myself to feel this joy because I know it won't last. Acknowledging how grateful I am is an invitation for disaster. I'd rather not be joyful than have to wait for the other shoe to drop. Hi. La Doña, it is me. DJ McCullough? Do I know you? Are you a friend? Have you been here before? Hi. You better read. K-Mac, you lit? Manny? I'm confused. K-Maculate. DJ K-Maculate? Not Manny. Manny's name is Immaculate. I'm tripping. Welcome in. Nah, I'm a stranger. Okay, for sure. Welcome in, stranger. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Strangers are still friends. Fear of the dark. I've always been prone to worry and anxiety, but after I became a mother, negotiating joy, gratitude, and scarcity felt like a full-time job. For years, my fear of something terrible happening to my children actually prevented me from fully embracing joy and gratitude. Every time I came too close to softening into sheer joyfulness about my children and how much I love them, I'd picture something terrible happening. I'd picture losing everything in a flash. At first, I thought I was crazy. Was I the only person in the world who did this? As my therapist and I started working on it, I realized that my too good to be true was totally related to fear, scarcity, and vulnerability. Knowing that those are pretty universal emotions, I gathered up the courage to talk about my experiences with a group of 500 parents who had come to one of my parenting lectures. I gave an example of standing over my daughter, watching her sleep, feeling totally engulfed in gratitude, then being ripped out of that joy and gratitude by images of something bad happening to her. You could have heard a pin drop. I thought, oh God, I'm crazy. And now they're all sitting there like, she's a nut. How do we get out of here? Then all of a sudden, I heard the sound of a woman toward the back starting to cry. Not a sniffle cry, but a sob. That sound was followed by someone from the front shouting, oh my gosh, why do we do that? What does it mean? The auditorium erupted in some kind of crazy parent revival. As I had suspected, I was not alone. What I didn't know at the time is that I would continue to study what I now call foreboding joy for decades, and this would lead me to discover that the best way to transform our compulsive need to dress rehearse tragedy in times of overwhelming joy is to practice gratitude. Rather than using that vulnerability shiver that comes when things feel too good as a warning sign, use it as a reminder to practice gratitude. Also, know that if joy scares you, you're not alone. Most of us have experienced being on the edge of joy only to be overcome by vulnerability and thrown into fear. Until we can tolerate vulnerability and transform it into gratitude, intense feelings of love will often bring up the fear of loss. If I had to sum up what I've learned about fear and joy, this is what I would say. The dark does not destroy the light. It defines it. It's our fear of the dark that casts our joy into the shadows. I random followed you from somewhere, I don't know, but I saw you on, so I'm here. I pull up on people's. I appreciate you. Oh, Glint, you're so sweet, even though it's your first time here. I see glimpses of the goat, and I've only been here a couple minutes. Lurk. I'm certain I have a lurk command somewhere. I appreciate the lurk. This song in the background is killing me softly. Because I just want this playlist to play. We have an ad starting in 1 minute, y'all. How do I just get this to play? Hopefully it'll stay. Let me see. I'm gonna write down that last part that I read. Maybe I'll put it up. I'm not too telling the business. First time here, not the first time I've spoken to you. I know, I'm just talking trash. It's okay. My streams be lit. Not really. They don't really be lit. Wait. Is it Streamlabs that I use? Because CloudBot just be like clocking out for the day. I swear. It's pretty lit. It is pretty lit. Hold on. Where's CloudBot? CloudBot. CloudBot just be off. Like, fam, you have multiple jobs. You can't just be clocking out. Yeah, I'm reading The Gifts of Imperfection. I'm reading guidepost number 4 of The Gifts of Imperfection. I have another one of her books, but I just got it yesterday. I haven't started reading it yet. So she separates the book into 10, well, there's like 3 intro chapters, and then she goes over 10 guideposts. And this is number 4. Yeah, I showed. It's called Daring Greatly. You should get it too. Let's see. Not quotes, commands. Oh, I have to change this. That's not correct anymore. I need to, okay, let me do this while there's ads going. In case you haven't already. Oh, I think I did empties too soon. There we go. What else we got? Welcome back, y'all. I'm going through my Streamlab commands because they need to be updated. Oh yeah, no problem. I forget about shout outs. I forget about commands, not shout outs, but I forget about commands. Okay. I'm not exactly sure if all my commands are correct. Like I have one for my PC specs and I think it needs to be updated with like, I think all I changed is my RAM. I have more RAM, but who cares? All right, so, oh, I'm gonna write this down. The dark does not destroy the light. It defines it. It's our fear of the dark that casts our joy into the shadows. Glenn, I feel like this is the color you told me about. Maybe? No? I don't know. It's giving. It's giving. All right, scarcity. These are anxious and fearful times, both of which breed scarcity. We're afraid to lose what we love the most, and we hate that there are no guarantees. We think not being grateful and not feeling joy will make it hurt less. We think if we can beat vulnerability to the punch by imagining loss, we'll suffer less. We're wrong. There is no guarantee. If we're not practicing gratitude and allowing ourselves to know joy, we are missing out on the two things that will actually sustain us during the inevitable hard times. Hi, Kage. Welcome back. I fixed the lurk command so it actually works now. What I'm describing above is scarcity of safety and uncertainty. But there are other kinds of scarcity. My friend Lynn Twist has written an incredible book called The Soul of Money. In this book, Lynn addresses the myth of scarcity. I'm doing wonderful. How are you? You're off on the weekends, yeah, Kage, or do you still work on the weekends? So Lynn Twist, in her book, The Soul of Money, writes, for me and for many of us, our first thought waking of the day is, I didn't get enough sleep. The next one is, I don't have enough time. Whether true or not, that thought of not enough occurs to us automatically before we even think to question or examine it. We spend most of the hours and the days of our lives hearing, explaining, complaining, or worrying about what we don't have enough of. We don't have enough exercise. We don't have enough work. We don't have enough profits. We don't have enough power. We don't have enough wilderness. We don't have enough weekends. And of course, we don't have enough money ever. We're not thin enough. We're not smart enough. We're not pretty or fit enough or educated enough or successful enough or rich enough ever. Before we even sit up in bed, before our feet touch the floor, we're already inadequate. We're already behind. We're already losing. We're already lacking something. And by the time we go to bed at night, our minds race with a litany of what we didn't get to do, didn't get done that day. What? I'll die if I had to. What you talking about? Kaya, what you talking about? Time to hydrate, everybody. Drink some water. I will do the same because I'm sipping on coffee. Oh, I'm just double checking. I'm pretty sure you. Well, yeah, because then you'd be at work right now. Drink some water, y'all. Okay. So, by the time we go to bed at night, our minds race with a litany of what we didn't get done that day. We go to sleep burdened by those thoughts and wake up to the reverie of lack. What begins as a simple expression of the hurried life, or even the challenged life, grows into the great justification for an unfulfilled life. As I read this passage, it makes total sense to me as to why we're a nation hungry for more joy, because we're starving from a lack of gratitude. Lynn says that addressing scarcity doesn't mean searching for abundance, but rather choosing a mindset of sufficiency. We each have the choice in any setting to step back and let go of the mindset of scarcity. Once we let go of scarcity, we discover the surprising truth of sufficiency. By sufficiency, I don't mean a quantity of anything. Sufficiency isn't 2 steps up from poverty or 1 step short of abundance. It isn't a measure of barely enough or more than enough. Sufficiency isn't an amount at all. It is an experience, a context we generate, a declaration, a knowing that there is enough and that we are enough. Sufficiency resides inside each of us, and we can call it forward. It's a consciousness, an attention, an intentional choosing of the way we think about our circumstances. Scarcity is also great fuel for gremlins. In my earlier shame research and this more recent research, I realized how many of us have bought into the idea that something has to be extraordinary if it's going to bring us joy. I thought it was just me, I write, we seem to measure the value of people's contributions, and sometimes their entire lives, by their fame and fortune. Our culture is quick to dismiss quiet, ordinary, hardworking people. In many instances, we equate ordinary with boring, or even more dangerous, ordinary has become synonymous with meaningless. I think I learned the most about the value of ordinary from interviewing people who have experienced tremendous loss, such as the loss of a child, violence, genocide, and trauma. The memories that they held most sacred were the ordinary, everyday moments. It was clear that their most precious memories were forged from a collection of ordinary moments, and their hope for others is that they would stop long enough to be grateful for those moments and the joy they bring. Author and spiritual leader Marianne Williamson says, "Joy is what happens to us when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things really are." Y'all hear that? Things are a lot better than we talk about. Things truly are a lot better than we talk about. I'm not sure is it playing? Oh, it is playing. I just want this to repeat. Is that cool? Can I do that? Is there more? I'm so confused. I thought if I played a playlist, it would just play. I'll just leave the same song on. Let's try that. Okay. So at the end of each guidepost, Brene has 3 items to help you dig deep and actually put the guidepost into practice. So the first one says, get deliberate. When I'm flooded with fear and scarcity, I try to call forward joy and sufficiency by acknowledging the fear and then transforming it into gratitude. I say this out loud. I'm feeling vulnerable. That's okay. I'm so grateful for blank. Doing this has absolutely increased my capacity for joy. Get inspired. I'm so inspired by the daily doses of joy that happen in those ordinary moments, like walking my kids home from school, jumping on the trampoline, and sharing family meals. Acknowledging that these moments are really what life is about has changed my outlook on work, family, and success. Get going. From taking turns being thankful during grace to more creative projects like creating a jar to keep gratitude notes in, we're making wholeheartedness a family affair. I really like the idea of a gratitude jar and also getting the kids involved in that too. I had a gratitude jar for a little while here on my desk. I actually used it a lot when I was streaming regularly, and now that DJ's a little bit older, and he writes notes to me actually pretty often, so that might be something that we do on like a weekly basis, is add something, or like every other day, like add something to the gratitude jar. And oh, I know what I can use. I have a coffee container that I just finished. I can use that.